Welcome to the Explainer. So you're planning to move, work, or maybe study abroad. You're probably incredibly excited, right? But usually, right before you can pack those bags, you hit a massive, totally unexpected administrative brick wall. Today, we're demystifying the chaotic U.S. apostille process. Let's dive right into this and unravel exactly what it takes to get your documents recognized overseas, hopefully without losing your mind in the process.
Here's our roadmap for today's Explainer. We'll start with Welcome to the Maze, then look at 50 states, 50 rules, followed by avoiding the hidden traps. After that, we'll dive into a case study on Michigan, talk about proving your identity, and finally wrap up with surviving the bureaucracy.
Section 1. Welcome to the Maze, Navigating Document Authentication. Okay, imagine this. You've just landed your absolute dream job overseas, or maybe you're planning a wedding in another country. You've got all your paperwork ready to go, and then suddenly someone tells you that you need document authentication. Basically, your perfectly normal documents, like your birth certificate or a marriage record, well, they're no longer considered valid on their own. You need an apostille. So what is that exactly? An apostille is a highly specific certificate that authenticates the signature on a public document. It allows that document to be accepted instantly without any further embassy legalization by countries in the Hague Convention. Think of it like an international notary stamp that basically says, yes, the official who signed this birth certificate or background check is in fact a legitimate official.
Now, the absolutely crucial thing to understand here is just how widespread this requirement is. There are more than 120 countries in the Hague Convention. That means if you're dealing with almost any major international move, whether that's for a job, for school, or trying to get dual citizenship, you are going to need this specific certification for your documents. The stakes are pretty high here. Getting this wrong literally means your documents will just be rejected at the border.
Moving on to Section 2, 50 states, 50 rules, a fragmented system.
So you might be thinking, great, I'll just send all this stuff to the federal government, right? Well, wrong. The United States doesn't actually have a single unified apostille process for state documents. Instead, it's this deeply fragmented system that varies wildly depending on exactly where your document was issued. The golden rule you have to remember is that an apostille must come from the jurisdiction that originally issued the document. So a California birth certificate, that has to go through Sacramento. A Texas marriage record, that goes through Austin. Where you live right now makes absolutely no difference. Because of this one rule, the U.S. essentially has 50 completely different procedures, 50 different fee schedules, and 50 unique sets of rejection traps.
To give you an idea of how absurd this fragmentation can actually be, let's look at the costs. The state fee to simply get the apostille stamp on a document in Michigan is literally $1 single. Now, what about the exact same service for a document in Connecticut? $40. It perfectly illustrates how wildly unpredictable the financial side of this bureaucracy is, and it depends entirely on which state happens to hold your records.
And you know, this geographic maze gets even more complicated. The standard assumption is that you just mail your documents off to the state's Secretary of State, but there are some wild exceptions. Utah, for instance, doesn't even have a Secretary of State. Their apostilles actually come from the lieutenant governor, and Georgia is completely out of left field. Their apostilles come from a court authority that most people have never even heard of, the Superior Court Clerks Cooperative Authority. If you address your envelope to the wrong office, it just goes nowhere.
Section 3. Avoiding the hidden traps, recency, and payments.
Knowing where to send your paperwork is honestly only half the battle. Now we need to talk about these silent bureaucratic traps. Specifically, recency rules. You might have a perfectly valid certified birth certificate that's been sitting safely in a drawer for a decade. Well, if you need an apostille in Connecticut, that document cannot be older than 10 years. In Texas, 5 years. North Carolina will outright reject anything certified before April 2000. Hawaii requires anything issued before 2025 to be totally reordered. And in New Hampshire, don't even think about sending a photocopy. It's actually illegal to photocopy a vital record there, so they only accept original certified copies.
And then, oh boy, there are the payment traps. There's a great quote from the sources that perfectly captures this. A check made out to the wrong payee gets the whole envelope returned. It is a small detail that ruins more mail-in attempts than any other. Payment methods are an absolute minefield. For example, Oklahoma adds a 4% surcharge on cards. The Los Angeles counter in California, they take no cash at all. And if you make a check out to the state of New Hampshire instead of exactly the specific way they requested, your entire envelope gets sent right back to you, completely destroying weeks of waiting.
Section 4. Case Study on Michigan, the On-the-Ground Reality.
To really understand what all this paperwork looks like in reality, let's dissect the actual application process for one specific state. Let's see what happens when you need to order an apostilled vital record, like a birth or marriage certificate, directly from Michigan. They have a highly specific fee structure. You see, you aren't just paying for an apostille, you're paying for the state to actually find the record first. There's a $42 base search fee, which only covers 1 year. Don't know the exact year? You'll pay $12 for every additional year they have to search. Once they finally find it, additional apostilled copies are $26 each, and if you're in a hurry, you can add $25 for expedited rush processing. So as you can see, the costs quickly stack up long before that $1 apostille stamp is even applied.
And if you think the fees are tricky, wait until you see the timeline for a standard Michigan mail-in request. First, your application just sits in the mail on its way to a P.O. box in Lansing. Then, you wait 4 to 6 weeks for in-office processing at the Department of Health and Human Services. After that, it needs another 1 to 2 weeks at the Secretary of State's office of the Great Seal. Finally, it comes back to you via standard USPS first-class mail. And catch that last point. They explicitly will not accept your prepaid express return envelopes. It is a massive, massive time commitment.
Section 5. Proving your identity. Michigan's strict tiers. Now, you might think ordering your own birth record or a statement of single status would be pretty simple, right? Well, Michigan actually has a surprisingly rigorous, multi-tiered process just to prove you are who you say you are. This is to prevent identity theft. Tier 1 is the easy path. If you can provide a photocopy of an unexpired U.S. or foreign passport, a U.S. driver's license, or a military ID with both a picture and signature, you're safe. Basically, any one of these documents establishes your identity all by itself.
But what if you don't have a valid driver's license or passport handy? Welcome to Tier 2. This is where you have to start creatively combining specific documents. For example, you can provide an employment ID with a photo, but that's not enough on its own. You actually have to combine it with a pay stub or a W-2 form that was issued within the past year.
And if you can't satisfy Tier 1 or Tier 2, you drop all the way down to Tier 3, which requires a frankly staggering volume of alternative documents. To prove your identity under this tier, Michigan requires you to submit at least 3 different alternative documents from different sources on their list. Things like a signed Social Security card, a utility bill, a rental agreement, or a voter registration. Furthermore, at least one of them must have been issued within the past year. It really proves just how incredibly strict and unyielding this bureaucratic machine can be.
Finally, Section 6. Surviving the bureaucracy. Your strategy.
So we've looked at the confusing offices, the hidden recency traps, the strict ID tiers, and the incredibly long processing times. How do you actually conquer this nationwide administrative maze without completely losing your sanity? Well, you really have 2 options. You can take the do-it-yourself approach. This means you commit to navigating the specific rules of the exact state your document is from. You risk the fee traps, the strict payee name requirements, and you potentially wait weeks only to have your envelope returned due to one tiny error. Alternatively, the sources detail flat fee services starting around $149.95 for economy or $199.95 for express. These all-inclusive services basically handle the red tape for you. They understand the local state rules, and crucially, they include the state fees in their flat price. It's a classic case of weighing the value of your own time and peace of mind against the financial cost.
Which brings us to our final takeaway for today. Are you prepared to navigate the hidden rules, the exact payment structures, and the strict ITs of your specific state? Or is it time to just let the experts handle the red tape? Whether you choose to bravely tackle the DIY route, armed with the knowledge from this explainer, or just outsource the headache entirely, the most important thing is that you now understand exactly what you're up against. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and best of luck conquering your paperwork.